Hi guys! So it's been a really long time since I made a video where I was talking, or at least it feels like it. I know I did that little comic dub, but that was more like acting than talking. And I've got more of those on the way with the help of a friend and brother, but really getting into a topic is still pretty cathartic for me, and I want to make some time for it where I can. And I know it's not a lot of time, especially right now. I'm trying to catch up with my comics and stuff, and I'm still a little behind on that, but I've got maybe a few minutes, so let's do something really simple and chill. I don't think I've talked too much about representation in general, or diversity or anything, or at least nothing too specific. I think that's mainly because not only is it a divisive issue, but it's also not usually the real issue. You can make a story about any race or culture or any mix of it, but if the writing is bad, it's bad. And if the writing is good and believable, then it's not just good representation, it's just a good story. And there's one particular representation in film and media that is very important to me for personal reasons and probably biased reasons too, and that is interracial couples. And that is definitely because I am in an interracial relationship. I am married to a Canadian of African descent, and I am a Canadian with European descent, sorry. That's a big part of what Our Colorful Life is about. It's a comic strip that's just based on my life. But this is actually something I always thought was cool, even as a kid. When I started writing stories and drawing comics as a teenager, I think that's a huge reason why a lot of my characters ended up being biracial. I was too immature to write any kind of romance, it kind of grossed me out, but I did really love the idea of being mixed. But I think the biggest reason why I really love interracial couples, or one of the biggest reasons, isn't just because it's personal, but because it is something that is so human to me. Humans coming together, regardless of background or nationality, is such a beautiful thing that I think makes us even stronger, better humans. I actually thought I would make a video on this a while ago, but it never happened. I did, however, do the minor research of just reading through the entire Wikipedia page of all the critically recognized films that featured interracial couples, and I wrote a few short notes or bullet points about what I read there. And thankfully I didn't delete it, because today I found it again and the topic's been on my mind, and so I'm like, well, this makes my job so much easier. I can just use those notes as a reference and just chat from there. Now the first note I wrote reads, looking through the Wikipedia list, I'm amazed at how long films have actually featured this, because the first several films I found are from the early 1900s. After going through to the 50s, I'm noticing the vast majority of these films, if not almost all of them, feature the man as white and the woman as a different race, especially white men marrying Native American or Chinese women, though a few of them are told through the woman's perspective. Another note from that timeline that I added just today when I skimmed over the page again is that according to Wikipedia, the first interracial kiss was in 1957's Island in the Sun film. It's not until the 60s that we start to see the roles reverse a little bit, having the man sometimes be the non-white race and having more female perspectives. I didn't notice any films start to have any races combining that did not feature one of them white until the 90s and early 2000s. And to finish off, I wrote, it seems like the more modern the films become, the less likely the story is going to be about the relationship itself and simply just features a prominent mixed-race couple. This is why I was kind of surprised at this list. The amount of films on this subject are quite a lot, yet most of them are not new, and many of them are very, very old. Has this become an outdated topic? Are people used to it now? Well, obviously that's a bit of a dicey subject, because ask anyone who is in an interracial relationship and they probably will all have very different experiences, some good, some bad. So while it's definitely a subject that needs to be handled with care and sensitivity, because it is a sensitive issue for a lot of people, including myself, I still don't think we need to be afraid to talk about it. I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of the films on that Wikipedia list with the exception of like 1, 2, maybe 3. One film I made a point of watching with my then fiance, this was I think a month before we were married, was the 2016 film Loving. Although this film is definitely a slower one, it's very beautiful and sincere and even gentle in its approach to this really serious and scary topic. It's scary because imagine your husband or wife happens to be a different color than you, and the police come barging into your home at night, drag you out of bed, and throw you both in jail. And this wasn't even a common law marriage of any kind. They were legally married in a different state that was more lenient with this type of thing. And to make this even worse, Mildred is pregnant when they throw her in jail. This film's depiction of the relationship, while quiet, is incredible. Richard is more the quiet type who is just fighting to keep his family safe and to live freely. But his approach to this is to take his family somewhere safe, and stay away from all these people opposing them. Whereas Mildred is someone who eventually starts using her voice. Like, we shouldn't have to live like this. We should be allowed to go home, and people need to know what we're going through. I think the most significant line from the movie, at least that I can remember, is when Richard is asked to give a message to the judge who is dealing with their case somewhere else, and he just says simply, "Tell the judge that I love my wife." This guy has every right to be screaming and yelling, but he just quietly declares his love for his wife, and that's it. My husband and I have definitely had our share of strife from people in his community accusing him of turning white or describing me as one of those white girls who is out to take men away from their families and communities. But we have it so good compared to what people had to deal with back then. Another film that I was made aware of by my landlord at the time, who was telling me, "Oh, I watched this movie that reminds me of you and your fiance." I haven't watched it, but the 1967 film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was pretty controversial for its time, I think, featuring an interracial couple. Some articles credit this film as being the first interracial kiss in Hollywood, but this definitely came out after Island in the Sun. But while back then that film might have been seen as problematic for simply featuring an interracial couple, today it's problematic because of the way it depicted black people in general. So it was remade by, I think, Eddie Murphy or Netflix or something with the film Guess Who? But according to some reviews, it sounds like this movie is only similar in the way that it has a interracial couple and nothing else about the story is similar. If that is the case, they should probably not call it a remake and just call it a different movie. So yeah, I'm debating about whether or not I should watch those movies or find some more, but I'm curious, do you have any favorite interracial couples in film? Again, it doesn't have to be a story that's about the interracial relationship itself. Like, for example, I really enjoy Tom and Maddie in the Sonic movies. Although I think Maddie in particular needs to be fleshed out more. Like, I like her, but I want to see her being a mom more, and that one Knuckles episode wasn't enough for me. And also, just their relationship as a couple isn't very fleshed out. Like, they obviously care about each other, but that's pretty much all we see. I mean, it's not very specific other than them apparently supporting each other's dreams financially in the past, and of course, Maddie supporting Tom rescuing a blue alien hedgehog. I completely almost forgot my goated couple, Gwen and Miles, baby. I love this one because it's not really a story about their races specifically, but a couple that genuinely is facing some hardships, like in Beyond the Spider-Verse. They disagree, there's some secrets kept, or at least on Gwen's end, and despite this, she ends up fighting for him in the end, even though there is severe backlash. I really can't wait to see how this one ends, because what a great example of just two human beings making it work. And as for my own work, even though in Sunstrike and Bloomist or The Angel Professor, there aren't really any romantic relationships going on right now, in Our Colorful Life I have addressed this topic a little bit, with one really serious comic strip called Mixed, that was a 3-part one, and a much more lighthearted one about babies. So if you want to check those out, I can link them in the description. But yeah, at the end of this video, I just want to say, of course, thank you for listening, but also, this is just me talking about something that I care about personally. I'm not pretending to be an expert or anything, and obviously I'm not trying to make it sound like these kind of relationships are better. I just really like them personally, and in the future, I would love to see more wholesome depictions like the ones I described before. Anyways, I hope you have a great week. Peace out.